One of the biggest questions first-time buyers ask me is how much can I borrow? In this video, I will be showing you how to use an affordability calculator so you can understand your borrowing potential and property budget, which is one of the first and most important steps to know as a first-time buyer. Let's go. Hey guys, Alex Kerr, mortgage broker, and my passion is simplifying the mortgage process for first-time buyers. Please say hello on social media at Alex Kerr Mortgage on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. Let's get into the vid. So the first thing I would do is head to somewhere like Barclays. Start typing in the information about yourself, your employment and outgoings, that sort of thing. Be sure to check through the list of commitments and be as accurate as you can. Once you have completed the details, you should get a figure of what you may be able to borrow. Let's try Santander. So let's start filling in our details, income, etc. Sometimes lenders will ask for property prices and deposits. If you do not know at this stage, just put the budget you are hoping for, as most will tell you at the end if it's possible to go to that budget or not. There we go. So a similar figure here to Barclays, probably around 4.5 times income. Let's try Nationwide. Here we go, income, borrowing amount, years, etc. Let's try a slightly different term here. Okay, so again, a similar figure. But one of the reasons I wanted to take you to Nationwide is with some lenders, if you qualify, you may be offered enhanced income multiples. Now what that means is a higher lending amount the lender will lend you. You see here, if we scroll down, we might be able to borrow a higher amount based on their helping hand mortgage. I have done a completely separate video on this mortgage. I will hook it up on the end cards. But if you are putting down 10% and qualify for the mortgage, you could borrow up to 5.5 times income. There are, of course, pros and cons to this, so be sure to check out the video at the end. So, are these figures accurate? Is possibly the first question you may have. Well, let's summarise the three calculators and see what we can take from that. Barclays calculator was more detailed in that it asks for detailed information in regards to credit commitments. I think this is a good sign when wanting to achieve accurate borrowing figures, and we ended up with a range of mortgage amounts which were somewhere around just under 4.5 times income to just over 5 times income once a couple of credit commitments were taken into account. The reason we got multiple borrowing figures is because the calculation used by Barclays will vary dependent on the amount of deposit you are putting down and the income you earn. The more the deposit and the more the income, then potentially the higher the borrowing. Barclays will also lend up to 5.5 times income to Premier Bank customers. Santander give us a similar starting figure of around 4.5 times income, but unlike Barclays, it asked for a deposit amount. Santander also asked for some details on existing credit commitments, but it's worth noting that as of the making of this video, Santander may not reduce the borrowing amount you can borrow if you have some current credit commitments, and they may not increase the borrowing amount if you intend to pay them off. So this could work for you or against you. Santander can sometimes be good to use if you have some credit commitments but still want 4.5 times income. However, I do have a disclaimer, mortgage lenders can change their criteria at any time, so it is always best to check the lender's criteria before committing to anything. Nationwide's home buyer calculator also gave us a couple of figures, one starting on around the standard 4.5 times income and the other higher figure of around 5.5 times income. This was by using their helping hand mortgage, which, should you meet their criteria, will lend a higher amount. It's worth noting you would need to choose a 5 or 10-year mortgage product with them to achieve this higher borrowing amount. However, what I did find interesting was that Nationwide did not ask for details of any credit commitments, so I would be careful with this, as you could find that the figures you can borrow reduce further down the applying process you go with them. What is my opinion on affordability calculators? Pros: I think they certainly give you a better understanding of what you can borrow and what property price you could go to. Before this, you may not have known if you can borrow a tenner or 10 million. So let's say you wanted to buy a property at 150,000 and the calculator said you could borrow 200,000. Then it gives you an idea that what you are looking to do and achieve could well be possible, when before this you may not have had that level of understanding. It is good you get multiple figures, which provides some options. I'm not a fan of higher income multiples because when you need to remortgage or renew your mortgage later on, you may not be able to borrow enough to clear your mortgage balance, because not all lenders lend these higher amounts. However, that is why lenders only offer these terms on products with a minimum of 5 years, so this gives you a chance to reduce the mortgage over a longer period, so when you do need to renew, you can. In some instances, the higher borrowing amount can help some first-time buyers onto the market where before they would have had no choice. These calculators do adapt to your individual circumstances, such as income, when calculating what you can borrow, which all leads to a figure which is as close to being accurate as possible at this stage. Cons: so my only lookout for this using these calculators is the fact I think they were a little bit watered down when compared to the calculations that will be made when doing an agreement in principle. None of the calculators took into account outgoings like council tax, living expenses, travel expenses and pension deductions. So once these are added in later on in the process, these figures could reduce furthermore. There was also no debt to income ratio calculated. This is the total debt versus income you have. So if your income is 30,000 and your debt is 15,000, then your debt to income ratio is 50%, which would cause problems for a lot of lenders. I always think 20% or under is where you need to be, although the threshold can be more around 40% as a maximum, which I'm certainly not a fan of, as the underwriting process will be a lot more strict. So overall, I think you should use them, as they do give you a much more accurate figure than you otherwise would have had. I think the calculators are a little bit watered down to the ones that the underwriter will use in order to keep things a bit more simple and minimise errors. Be mindful that the borrowing amount could change once you have had an agreement in principle, and then again during the mortgage application if you have unaccounted for expenses that your bank statements reflect. To ensure you do not have borrowing amounts reducing during mortgage applications, make sure you have accounted for every expense, such as pension deductions. These are the contributions you make and not the employer's contribution. Student loan payments are common to miss. Childcare and maintenance payments sometimes get forgotten, as well as incorrect council tax calculations. Make sure to check the banding and use the council's council tax calculators. Just do a thorough check of your bank statements to ensure no stone is left unturned. Today's question: have you used an affordability calculator? Let me know in the comments. Mortgage warning. Please note, we do need to let you know that your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage. So thanks for watching today's video. I hope it has helped when trying to work out how much you can borrow for your first mortgage. Please do subscribe and hit the bell so you can get notified when we release further first time buyer videos that will be full of useful content. I've been Alex Kerr, providing the best tools and tips to first time buyers. I'll see you in the next one.